HEALS welcomes you to the third Euro Symposium on Healthy Aging. HEALS is the largest non-governmental organization in Europe promoting and advocating scientific research into longevity and biogerontology. Thanks to generous support from our sponsors, HEALS was able to organize this conference. The conference will highlight the cutting edge of knowledge in the field of biogerontology and provide a unique opportunity for researchers, government officials, biotech executives, and advocates from around the world to meet, network, and forge new scientific collaborations.
So we have to sadly cut the panel down to about 20 minutes, so we better get started. Maybe quickly introducing the panel members. You are all familiar already with Alexander Sefalian, so I won't do that again. Next to him sits Dimitri Kaminsky, who is the senior partner of Deep Knowledge Ventures, and next to him sits Michael Grave, and he just set up Project 21 with the Sense Foundation, giving $5 million in seed funding for rejuvenation biotech. Okay, so thank you for being our panel today. And I would like to ask my first question. My first question is, what are the largest roadblocks that biotech companies working on aging face today? And any member of the panel may start.
Well, I think that the biggest roadblock at all is that there are not enough biotech companies working on aging right now. So there's only very, very few companies working there. And actually, there's I'm aware of 3 of them. It's Oishin, it's Unity Biotech, and it's ICOR. And actually, they don't have roadblocks. So they get the funding that they need. And actually, what we need, from what I see, is we need more startups in that area that actually try to work on therapies.
So why aren't there more? Why aren't there more? What is stopping people from starting biotech companies?
We need more research. So as opposed to the technology world, where you just have the basic tools available to everybody, and like see with the internet, you just needed the basic tools like the HTTP protocol, a web server, a database, and the web browser, and then you could virtually build everything that you wanted, from flight booking systems through web portals and whatever. But with rejuvenation biotech, basically you need basic research, you need research results that have the potential to be translated into therapies. And for one promising research avenue of research, you can build one company on that, and then you need to do more research. So actually, I think we have to fund more research especially on those fields that have the potential to be translated into actual rejuvenation biotech.
What depends on what you mean by aging and what research, and by what biotech company. If it's just more genetic, applying gene therapy and stuff, then they quite long-term benefit or long-term commercialization. Hence, biotech company not interested because they won't get the money to run.
I'm a super proponent of the Sense way of doing things. So it's actually a molecular, and for me, it's molecular and cellular repair.
Okay.
So it's not gene therapy.
Yeah, even those, I could understand why there are not many biotech companies, because you're looking at long-term benefit, in terms of commercialization, in terms of thing, it won't be next 5 years. It will be more likely next 20 years.
Yes.
And that is either bigger company long-term, they put the money in, will be interested, not a spin-off company.
No, see, my experience is totally different. So the money is there. So the people are realizing that this is going to be the biggest market of all times. That's starting right now. And so the money is there, simply the companies are not there.
How much money?
Huh?
How much money?
It basically, it's going to be infinite as soon as the companies are there. And that is the real issue. We don't have the startups. We need the research to incubate startups. Once the startups are there, the money will follow.
So I would like to agree with Michael that, of course, a lot of research should be done, a lot of basic research. At the same time, I also would agree that the infrastructure, the format, the kind of frame should be created for longevity and aging industry, not only for research but for industry. I also would agree that I don't see significant border between aging and precision medicine. So precision medicine and the advancement and practical applications of precision medicine, they will lead to aging, practical applications of aging technologies in real life. At the same time, we see on our monitoring at least 100 companies and startups which are doing some work, and they are more or less focused on aging and longevity technologies, at least focused on extension health longevity. So some of them are focused on something super advanced, such as applying, for example, nanotech for precision medicine, but probably it is maybe 10 years from now. And among that 100 companies, I suppose that 90% of them have something close to practice within 1 to 3 years. At the same time, it regards big amounts of investment. So there are no enough investments at all in this longevity industry. Just now, I suppose approximately 3, maximum $5 billion, and most of them are spending for nothing. So, for example, with Google, we have, for example, when companies the biggest in the world, and they have unlimited resources, financial resources, and also the best scientists are in their hub, but nothing specific, successful happening there, because we don't see some significant results with Calico. And at the same time, we know that with Verily, half a year ago, a team of scientists just decided to quit because of too big ego of CEO of Verily. So this is the example how even having billions of dollars, but not having reasonable structure of framework, people do not achieve good results. So to go back to main question, where are the main, let's say, blocks which are slowing down? So the entire biotech industry and biomedicine industry now it is formatted by big pharma companies, and they themselves significantly depends on pension funds. And pension funds and governments, their strategy and their idea how they exist in this, on this planet, and their business model, it is not so straightforward. For example, as with Google or with IBM, which are trying to create that IBM Watson. So I don't know what is the exact impact pension fund systems. So probably they are one of the main factors of slowing down progress in aging research entirely, because they influences on big pharmaceutical companies to be far away from aging research. Because as you know, pension funds, if life expectancy will increase, all pension funds business model will be just broke. Actually, they are already, most of them are already bankrupted, but they do not want to confirm this. So, but I have good news, because I have a lot of evidence that there will emerge a lot of new, so let's say capacity and business models for startups, and they will emerge. They are now just emerging now. During this year, I appeared at least 30, maybe 50 startups, some of them in Silicon Valley, but some of them in Europe and around the world. And these complications which were during last years, for example, with Google and with some other companies which had declared that they will invest a lot of money in the sphere. So, absolutely right. Now also a lot of investors appears who want to invest in this topic, because this inertia in the public opinion. Probably it is something like 2 years behind Google. Google, I suppose 3 years ago, Google announced that they will solve problem of debt. So public opinion just now it is on the highest rate of interest to this topic, because on World Economic Forum, there were a lot of discussion about that now normal life expectancy is around 120 years. And also The Economist, this is the most credible financial and policy journal. They will make a series of conferences, and one of them will be in the end of November in London. The name will be Aging Societies. So there will be a lot of discussions about specific longevity business, and more of it. They will do in San Francisco conference on 7th of November, and that conference will be just similar to that London conference, but the name will be different, and the name will be The Business of Longevity. So there will be specifically some panel discussions. They will be named Investing in Longevity. So this topic now really appears to be, let's say, we are now, this year is the year before longevity boom. Next year, we will see the rise of longevity boom, similar to as it was in 1995 with dot-com boom. So my answer for this question that till this year we didn't have on entire scale business model for aging and longevity startups, companies, so on. But next year it will change.
Okay, so I understand that from your perspective there are not nearly enough companies working on aging at the moment. And where do you think, if you want to start up one company, what is the big gap in the market that you would like to fill first? What do you think is the key type of company direction? Is it big data with bioinformatics? Is it regenerative medicine? What is the biggest gap at the moment?
For this question, I will answer very short form. Michael said that there will be infinite amount of and infinite capacity for investments and applying this technology. So any sector of technologies, any sector of companies which will really give practical results, everywhere they will have success.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I'm working closely with the Sense Foundation, and what we try to do is try to start a sort of a rejuvenation biotech industry. And the key is we just need one company to succeed, and I hope it's going to be either Ocean or Unity doing senescent cell clearance, because this is the lowest hanging fruit that we have right now. But I think once we can demonstrate that you can actually rejuvenate humans, that's going to open the eyes to everybody. So this is going to be a real game changer. It's not about like modestly slowing aging, because to prove that we can modestly slow aging, like with metformin or geroprotectors or whatever, it's going to take a long time to prove that we can actually do this. Because if we say we slow aging by 5 or 10%, then we'll have to wait for 50 years to show that we have like slowed it down by 5 years. But if we can actually rejuvenate people, this is going to be something dramatically new. And in rodents, of course, it was rodents, it worked. I know that Ocean, they are probably moving to aged primates, hopefully beginning of next year. Then we have the first results there. And I think this is going to be a real big game changer when people understand that we can actually rejuvenate people, like put them back in a healthier state. And that's the moment when all the money in the world is going to be there, because everybody's going to understand that this is going to be the biggest business of all times.
Yeah, I think we are really nearing the end of the debate. I think you, in a few minutes, right? So, yes, that's what I was.
We don't have to stop absolutely at 5 p.m. We can go 50 minutes later.
Yeah, but one of our panel members will have to leave. So, okay. So, yes, I suggest indeed that we take some questions from the audience.
I was in Stanford, because I am collaborating with Tony Viscorai, and he brought us to Alcahest. Yeah. And I understood they did not said a lot of what they were doing because of of course, it was too. But I understood that there was a big investment of a consistent number of millions dollars, starting from this data that came from the heterochronic parabiosis studies. But of course, the identification, what I understood is that they are fractionating the plasma into major fractions and then identify the one that has more rejuvenating activity and then go further and further in order to identify. So this was a clear strategy which is reasonable. But so take this as an example. What do you need? Do you need a starting strong evidence because the money is there? So suppose that I would like to exploit the data that we have collected on the microbiome of old people, that some microbes can produce something good for your health and to become centenarian. So this is enough, just to understand, this is enough, and for having some people say, well, I will put X million to develop this idea, or you need much more biological evidence in order to invest money?
Well, parabiosis is a good example. It's not actual rejuvenation, but it's supposed to, well, reactivate the stem cells. And
not only, but
there's pretty good evidence like that it works in 5 different tissue types. And if you have evidence like this for whatever therapy or procedure that you propose, that's I think a pretty good starting point. But it should be something that actually makes part of the system, of the human system, function like a younger human, so to speak. That's what parabiosis does. It rejuvenates the certain tissues. Same as senescent cell clearance, might be clearance of garbage from lysosomes and stuff in that direction. So we can actually, where you can actually demonstrate, well, we take some aged tissue and return it to the state of younger tissue. This would be something that really would get you investment money.
So in other words, so sorry if I have to understand. So you said that to delay aging is interesting, but is not the core.
Yes.
The core is to rejuvenate because it's much faster, and you can see the results on a shorter time.
Yes, exactly. Because selling the idea of slowing down aging is something that it takes so much time to prove that in humans. If you slow down aging just a little bit. But if you can and still the endpoint would be the same. So it's not gonna, investing is about the imagination of the future. People invest in companies because investors dream of the potential future, what this company would bring along. And of course, it's much more exciting if you can dream of like making old people young again.
But sorry, the last one, I will. But the other point is what I mentioned before. Say, nowadays we need a lot. We need biomarker to make preventive medicine, because some diseases start 20 years before. So if I would like to have, say, a biomarker for Alzheimer, I can understand why a guy 20 years before the onset. So this is also another enormous field to
Yes.
take into consideration, because this is not rejuvenation, but is prevention in the best way, so in the most effective way.
I totally agree. In order to prove that you have rejuvenated something, you have to have ways of measuring it, and therefore you need the biomarkers, something that, well, shows you actually rejuvenated that tissue or that system, and of course you have to measure that. But from coming from an investor's perspective, the emotional story selling, I have rejuvenated this tissue, and the company could offer a therapy that rejuvenates muscle, heart, whatever, skin, is exciting. And if we're talking about investment, we're talking about selling excitement to the potential investors.
So just to mention, tomorrow we will talk about the translation of the basic science to the clinic. And so then we will talk about the role of biomarkers, or exactly how are you going to prove that the therapeutic is slowing down or reversing aging. So
yes.
that's
Also, I would add something regards Claudia's question. So first of all, microbiome is one of the, let's say, the most exciting forefronts of longevity industry, and I'm sure there will be a lot of success stories in close coming years. So this is first. Second, of course, it is. I am absolutely sure that there are a lot of interrelations between supercentenarians. There are patterns. Obviously, there are patterns connected with their microbiome and specifics of their microbiome. At the same time, to go back, which companies and which technology will be more successful? Of course, this is very obvious, the most simple strategy that companies which will show obvious rejuvenating results in close and short terms, they will get, let's say, first success stories. For example, BioVivo example is one of them. At the same time, if to prolong this, let's say, pattern, and the most successful among them will be the companies which will, make and give us treatments to rejuvenate skin. In case of skin, we have the biggest tissue in our body, something like 6 kilograms. And this is
the most visible one.
Yes, and it is the most, let's say, it is the most straightforward biomarker, our skin. So among all companies, the most successful on short-term strategy will be that who will be able to deliver treatments and rejuvenating for skin, and specifically for skin of face.
I agree.
But we have, let's say, very good example that real big investors will make their decisions, and the real big opinion makers, they will make decisions in a more sophisticated way, because these decisions regards companies who show such straightforward strategy. It will make such investment decisions will make crowd. So in case of crowd investing, of course, such companies as BioVivo or others, which will show some, results on their faces, so they will get a lot of crowd investing formations. In case of, let's imagine one person who is, for example, who has $60 billion, his own wealth, and he's around 80 years old. For him, to make decisions because some girl, there will happen some rejuvenating on her face. For him, it does not make sense. For him, he will make decisions. He will want to combine that 100 companies in one account in his hub, and he will want to have a panel of his biomarkers. And I suppose he will want to have at least 500 of them, and make combination of the treatments specifically tuned for his own body, his own genetics, and maybe his skin will be the last among his priorities. And first of all, maybe some other priorities will be more important for him, because in age, if he's around 80 or 90 or 100, he will have much more greater problems than skin. So here, to go back to biomarkers, and they are number one in all priority. And this is a question to you. Here we have the great community, the greatest group of scientists of Europe. And because I do not trust too much what is happening now in Silicon Valley regards with anti-aging and longevity topic. And I'm sure there will be a lot of hype, a lot of, defaults, similar to Theranos story. But now only they will use this rising trend of longevity. And at the same time, UK and North Europe, I suppose this is the place where will emerge really credible longevity science. And you should be, let's say, the standard, the people who will, validate all other companies. And this format, I mean, I suppose that for entire longevity industry, it will be really significantly important to create a kind of format, maybe universal format. As it was previously created in IT industry, there were different types of equipment, and then appeared USB protocols and appeared a lot of plug-and-play protocols. So, in the case of longevity industry, I suppose that scientists, first of all, should create this universal panel of biomarkers, aging biomarkers, and at the same time create a universal system of validating of credibility of technologies, of startups. In that case, investors will invest in real good companies, in real good technologies, and not in overhyped companies and technologies.
Any more questions from the audience? DJ?
Yes. First, I want to say that I really admire your work as a life extensionist, both of you. Then my question. So we all know that public institutions, but also big companies, they are shy. They don't want to invest in risky business, complicated business. Okay, so that's one of the reasons there is no work on longevity on this side. But what I heard here, it's promotion of startups. And I have the impression that the startups, there are really many startups concerning all health fields, but also many other fields. And sometimes I have the impression that many people behind the startups, they have more time, they need more time to look finance, to look for money, and to find some kind of short-term ideas than really to fight for longevity in our example. So how do you think that it's possible to combine, let's say, both positive aspects of how is it possible to have startups or big companies or public institutions, but okay, really working on aging, because well, I would love to think, like you said, Michael, that rejuvenation for human beings is not so far away, but I don't think so. So I think it's a long-term project, and how to convince to invest there. Well, long-time project, maybe not for animals, but for human beings, it's almost certain.
Yeah, I think really where you can look at the thing at two ways. If you just try to modestly slow down the aging process, you're just going the way big pharma is going. So this is very conventional thinking. So the paradigm shift would really be rejuvenation, and I can say I think we should strive for to rejuvenate, not a whole human, maybe just one sort of tissue. And as you said, Alka they got instantly funding, like $70–80 million for their parabiosis. Once you go for real rejuvenation, even if it's only part of the body or part of the system, there's no lack of funding. This is one thing. And I think if we think of it in a bigger scale, not just doing it like we've always done this, if we can really demonstrate this in a human being, I don't know when this will happen, but I say if we can demonstrate this will fundamentally change the perception of what this is all about. and then the public opinion will sway, and then all the money is going to flow into the universities, into everything. So this is going to be, this is the change. Of course, you're totally right. We can work on slowing aging. We can invest in all these companies. Me personally, I'm trying to speed up the time until we reach this turning point, because this is going to be the real shift in the perception of what life extension should be or can be all about. So and maybe I'm the wrong person to ask about all this other stuff, but I know that. Like, for example, I helped fund Oishin, I helped fund Icor Therapeutics. There was no problem finding the money and people to invest it, because once you understand, wow, we have the chance of, like, maybe if the chance is small, but the chance is there that we can rejuvenate. And of course, it was only animal studies, it was only rodents, but the delivery system works, and in animals it has extended the healthy lifespan by an average of 25%. And this is very exciting, and for this excitement you can get investments. This is just what I'm saying. So it is not about big investment funds thinking about doing logical investments. This is the conventional thing. But I've been through the .com boom, you know, where the internet exploded. If you're in such an inflection point, it's not about logic anymore. You know, it's not about, like, calculating exactly the numbers. It's about the imagination, what can happen. And if you think about it, I mean, I don't have my iPhone with me, but I've got an iPhone. You know, it's a small communication device, and the company manufacturing that telephone is one of the most valuable companies on the planet. It's $250 billion valuation. So, and if you ask yourself, what is the ratio that you would put at your telephone versus yourself being healthy as a 30-year-old person, don't have to worry about cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease, all the gruesome stuff that comes with age. How much more worth is that to you? 100 times, 200 times, 500 times. Then you got the market valuation of the apple of life extension. And this is the market we're talking about. It's 100 times bigger than the internet market. And investors are starting to realize that if this real life extension is coming along, this is going to be the market size. And this is why I don't have any doubt that the money, once we have startups that work on true rejuvenation technologies, they have all the money in the world that they need to do this. And they're going to find ways to bring it to the market. If in the beginning it will not be the regulated market, there's talks about, well, like BioViva doing it in the Fiji Islands or doing in other countries. So once people do this, everybody wants to be in there, and then the whole ball gets rolling. This is my vision on how things can turn out.
Do you know what Calico is doing?
No. But I don't think they're working on something like this. I think they're also trying to do big data, genetic analysis, and then trying to modestly slow down aging. But they're very secretive about what they're doing.
Could I ask?
I'm going to ask another question, and then we go back to the audience. So my question is, if you will take the age and biotech industry, so companies working on aging, and you compare it to other biotech companies that are not working on aging, say the agriculture biotech business or those working on HIV and so on. If you compare those two, what would you say is like the differences in terms of like raising the funding or getting the work done? You know, how easy? What are the unique challenges that differ between these two types of biotech?
Of course, there's absolutely different spheres. So, as I mentioned previously, in case of typical biotech industry, biomedicine industry, all startups dealing with venture investors on first stages, and venture investors, in case of biotech, they do not add any significant value in a position with IT industry. In IT industry, we have venture investors who are guiding, who are leading progress. They are pushing startups to go towards progress. In the case of biotech, venture investors, they do not pushing startups to any progress. They are pushing startups to be tuned and packed for acquisition by big pharma. And big pharma, I don't know what they are doing, but I mean, in most cases, they are not interested in, as we discussed previously, in all the technologies which can rejuvenate, for example. And in case of what will lead to really great super big dot-com boom, which will be probably 100, maybe 1,000 times more measured in capitalization compared with dot-com boom. So we will have it. We will have it in 5, maximum 10 years, and we are close to start of that golden age of aging science. My forecasting is that it will start next year, and in 2, maximum 3 years, they will emerge market and business model and global capacity for this new industry and new companies and new technology, because they will be started, recognized by big investors, not by big pharma. So my prediction that main investors will be not from big pharma, but they will come from IT, and they will come from big sovereign funds. I mean, from big wealthy countries, which will want to reconstruct their economy, investing in super novel technologies. So one of simple examples, Abu Dhabi has $2.5 trillion national fund, and they are going to transform their economy from $2.5 trillion. Sweden has 900 billions. So in case of Abu Dhabi, they are investing in, they're going to invest in different new technologies to reconstruct their economy from oil to something post-oil era. And one first investments from their side was recently, probably 1 month ago, 3 billion into Uber company. But I'm sure that till the end of next year, they will start invest in some investments funds. So they will be not leading investors. They will follow some leading investors who will create big enough investments vehicles to invest in the longevity industry. Because in case of Abu Dhabi, the minimum level of investments will be $100 million. So and I know at least 3 countries which are now interested and doing some, let's say, analysis regards this longevity topic, aging science and so on, and to apply for transformation of the economy. There is one example. I don't know how it will be successful, but at least it is on the first stage. It is Kazakhstan. Dario probably tomorrow, I don't know when he will speak about that, will explain that case, I suppose. And I'm sure that Abu Dhabi and some other such big countries which have enormous amounts of budgets and do not know exactly where to invest. So from them, a couple of billions will come into this industry, and it will, of course, it will boost significantly.
Yeah, I was just wondering about what your thoughts on big pharma companies were in respect of their revenue streams. All come from the treatment and recurrence and reoccurrence of diseases of aging. So the way I see them is that they've been sitting in almost a senescent state themselves. They don't want to rock the boat. It's only when a genie starts coming out of the bottle, such as may be happening right now, that they may want to jump on board and be the first people to arrive at solutions. So do you think that maybe there's a turning point in the way that big pharma might approach longevity, which there hasn't been before now?
Well, actually, I don't know. But I think if you look at the history of what happened over the last 100 years, the big players in a market that was completely turned upside down usually don't end up being the big players of the next generation. Or might it be mobile or might it be steam engines, This is like moving with steam engines to electric motors, and of course they have the opportunity to do this, but that will probably also incorporate a change in culture. But of course it would be welcome. Everybody working on this technology and contributing resources would be great, because I mean, in the end, rejuvenation is and really keeping people in a younger state is what medicine is all about. I mean, it's just about keeping people healthy, and you can't be healthy if you age. So it's like you say, it's a total contradiction. So if you're aging, you will get sick. So it's just the core of doing medicine. It's like keeping people healthy indefinitely, hopefully.
You don't think there's a danger of big pharma derailing or
well,
delaying?
I don't know whether this is. I mean, I actually I don't know the future, and I don't know how all the players in that market will react. But what I personally know is, like, if a company like Eusin or any other startup like Alka has that has a valid therapy, and they will get all the funding that they want, that they need, and then they move to Kazakhstan or they move to the Fiji Islands with their first clinic and offer the treatments, and people will go there and use the treatments, and they will come home and look rejuvenated and are rejuvenated, and people will start talking about it. You will see it in the newspapers, you will see it in the evening news. So it's this is going to be a real topic, and then everybody wants to have that, and you see, and it's going to change regulation, and I think it's something that's really going to snowball once it gets started.
You don't think it's going to be bought and then shelved by a big pharma company?
So we do a lot with big pharma, because we helping our portfolio companies, in negotiations with big pharma, and we do relations with big pharma, and we do government relations for our portfolio companies. And I should highlight that big pharma is too big now to be able somehow transform their existing business models. Big pharma, average amount is from 1 to 200 billions of dollars. It is collective mind, which do not have any reasonable long-term strategy, because top managers, they are on duty to produce quarterly reports, and they do not care about any kind of rejuvenation or longevity and so on, because their business model depends on their relations with governments and pension funds, and there is no...
They depend on diseases, because if we do not have diseases,
yes,
there is no
yes.
business.
So, and more of it, in case of big pharma, there is no interface how to interact with them. If you will try to do this, and you will somehow name that you are in aging, longevity topic, so you will have a lot of interest on personal level from top managers of big pharma, top executives even. But they make collective decisions, and in their collective mind, it is very different from, let's say, what should be done. It is just here outside. We have a collective mind of Europe. Yes, we are in capital of European Union, and countries separately, they can produce something smart. But when they join into one collective mind, I don't know what they produce, because instead of making that demonstrations and supports, financing for aging research, they're crying something there very different from what European Union should be interested in. So to go back to big pharma question, this is a big question, and my prediction that big pharma will follow the trend, but the trendsetters will be not big pharma. The trendsetters will become IT giants, probably. Maybe it will be Facebook, maybe it will be Alibaba. So pay attention to the phrase which Jack Ma said on 25th of May in Kazakhstan. Anybody knows what he said? No? Why? So Jack Ma, president of Alibaba, he was on 25th of May in Kazakhstan. There was Asian Economic Forum, something like that. So they were discussing so-called digital Silk Road from China to Europe. The idea is to create a super advanced, digital ecosystem which will support development of business. And Kazakhstan will be in the middle of that digital Silk Road. And the idea that they will deliver very advanced and very sophisticated and in most cases free of charge cloud computing system and different advanced digital technology solutions for entrepreneurs who will do business in that regions. Jack Ma said at that economic forum, without any reasons, just like in the middle of his speech, you know what? I suppose that soon we will have to produce laws which will limit the life extension up to 200 years, not more. So that wealthy people will have ability to live not more than 200 years. So this is, pay attention. This is not, you know, this is not Aubrey de Grey. This is not even Peter Thiel. This is Jack Ma, who is president of a corporation. I suppose now it is $250 billion. So his phrases, they mean something for shareholders of the company. And if they will think that he became crazy, so the capitalization could decrease. But he was not afraid to say that. And pay attention that on 17th of May, 1 week before that World Economic Forum, some people sitting here were in Kazakhstan, and there was biogerontology forum, so something like a regenerative medicine conference, and there was a really deep discussion about all that rejuvenation technologies, gene therapy, injections, applying artificial intelligence to analyze biomarkers of aging and creating an entire ecosystem for slow down aging, rejuvenating, and transformation of country economics by creating global hub of biotech, but focused on health and longevity. So I don't know what happened specifically with Jack Ma, but just 1 week after that conference, he decided to announce that crazy idea that let's limit life by only 200 years. So that's why I suppose that Alibaba will become one of the biggest investors in the longevity industry. Not Facebook and not Peter Thiel. The biggest investors will become from Asia and East world, not West world. On West world, they will invest in Theranos companies, like the companies which can produce a lot of marketing.
Sorry, I just I had a quick question for Michael, because I think you're involved with the Sense Institute, yes? And I just wondered, out of the various avenues that they're working on, if there are some more than others that you think might give rise to commercial possibilities in the near future? Yeah,
sure. They, I mean, they just had a tremendous success with their MitoSense project. Transporting two or backing up two of the mitochondrial genes to the nucleus. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a candidate to do something. And apart from that, there are a few research projects that we are also funding together with them. It's like clearing 7-ketocholesterol from the foam cells to reverse arterial plaque. There's work on trying to break crosslinks and, well, for example, to restore skin elasticity. So stuff in that area. But there's nothing that you can pinpoint where you say, okay, this is what I said. There's a lack of startups, actually. Yeah. So if anything would come up, that would be funded instantly, because this is like Ocean, for example, and Icor. These are two things that came out of Sense. They had no trouble at all funding money. I think Ocean did 3 seed rounds because they just received money from them. And Leon, you were with as well. And Icor wants to raise a big Series A next year. Ocean wants to raise a big Series A next year. And I don't think that they have any trouble finding the investors in that.
Thank you.
Okay, we are half an hour over time already, so I think we should probably close the panel.
I would like just to conclude. There was a couple of questions. What to do for, let's say, startups or scientists who are close, to try to commercialize their technologies or, let's say, ideas or concepts. So first of all, use our email. Email just me. We are based in London. We are Deep Knowledge Ventures, but we are mainly focused on artificial intelligence and fintech and different advanced technologies. And we have subsidiary investment fund. We incorporated this year in London, Deep Knowledge Life Sciences. This fund will be focused specifically on longevity, rejuvenation, and slow down aging. So all diapason of this industry, and also precision preventive medicine. So if you have any ideas, concepts in for-profit approach and also non-profit approach, we would like to, to start discussion, collaboration with you, because in our strategy, in our concept, non-profit and for-profit should be 50-50, because this industry, it is not just for-profit industry. This is big impact industry. It is just similar to what Google had done 15 years ago. When Google now is the biggest company in the world, but they did biggest impact on the using internet, because when they were born in 1998, there were at that time 17 searching companies, and Google hadn't had at that time business model, because Yahoo had a business model, and a lot of other big companies, searching companies, had a business model, and all of them died till today, and only Yahoo survived, and now it was bought by, I don't remember by whom, but yes, being close to bankruptcy. And Google now has more than $600 billion of capitalization. What Google, what they did, they were focused on improving technology. So they improved technology, and they outperformed all their competitors by technology. And by this, they created big impact, and they didn't have to do any kind of promotion, because clients came to them without any promotion. So this will happen with all companies which will really bring practical results. They will not need to have a lot of promotion, because their work, their technology will be the best promotional engine. At the same time, what happens in most cases with scientists, especially, and even with startups, that they nowadays they have to deal primarily with so-called shark investors. Especially it happens in Silicon Valley, because maybe Michael has other experience. Most of startups which came to us, they said that they have big troubles in the negotiation with Silicon Valley investors, because they mostly focused, investors, to give the smallest amount of money to get the biggest portion of shares. And if the company will be close to something, they will be packed in beautiful box and will be sold for some budget, but not in the strategy of founders, because the founders who are in longevity industry, of course, they do not want to be acquired by big pharma, so they want to improve their technology and to become themselves new big pharmas instead of old, outdated big pharmas. So again, anybody who has good ideas and good proposals, just contact us, and I'm sure that there will appear a lot of new investment funds, a lot of new entrepreneurs who will help in business development for longevity and anti-aging startups. And also, I'm sure that during next year there will appear a couple of so-called platforms, because now venture investing is going to so-called platform solutions. Because there is typical model 220, when venture funds, they do not invest their own money. They take money of LP limited partners and takes 2 persons from them for management of that money, not their own money. And then they take 20 persons from, in case of successful exit. So in most cases in biotech industry, from start to exit, it takes 7-10 years. So it means from 14 to 20 persons for management of money and 20 from exit. So investors, real owner of the money, he loses at least from 30 to 40 persons of his profits to that venture investors who are not interested in improving technology. They're interested how to transform the company and to sell to big pharma. But now in fintech industry, in blockchain, if you heard about that new really booming industry, they appeared so-called investment platforms. So it is a combination of crowd investing and venture investing, angel investors and syndicates of angel investors. And they have also big follow investors. For example, Richard Branson support a couple of such platforms for investing, which are specifically tuned for to help young but very dynamic fintech startups, to rise on that wave of fintech boom. And that platforms are created in such a mode that they do not need any kind of managers. So they have 2 managers and 10 software developers, because this is just advanced website. And investors and also startups, they can make, let's say, smart matching there. And so this is Uber model, Uber approach for reinventing investment strategies. And my prediction is that there will emerge a couple of such platforms for novel biomedicine industry and specifically for longevity industry. And you will see it in close coming months, at least one of them. And also, I'm sure that after that conference in London, organized by The Economist, which will be on 28th of November, they invited me to be a speaker there on the panel investment in longevity in London. And in San Francisco, there will be Brian Kennedy and Nir Brazilai also on their panels. And also there will be Esther Dyson and don't remember, a couple of other venture funds. So after that conference, because The Economist, normal people do not read The Economist, as you know. The Economist, people who are reading The Economist, it is people from this European Union government, and maybe Arabian sheikhs, and maybe some other presidents of such countries as Kazakhstan. So when that conference will happen, I'm sure that a lot of good news will appear in all other, let's say, subsectors of longevity industry. So the conclusion is that I'm sure that with advances in IT technologies, but retuned for management and organizing of even research, studies in aging, it will help us to emerge in a smart collective system to improve and boost all that, research and development, as well as business development and investment relations for startups and also for scientists. Because and also it will be, these platforms will help to make fundraising for non-profit project. Because, for example, I'm sure that United Nations will start to finance projects which will deal with so-called, which can be able to solve at least in some fragments that problem of silver tsunami, because this problem is great now and it slowed down developing countries, and it's also influence on developing countries, because developing countries now do not have good enough access to, finances, because developed countries, they have internal crisis of aging population, and in most cases, the economy, for example, Japan example is very clear example how 30 years ago Japan could outperform in GDP US, but now they are close to bankruptcy as the state, just because the amount of old people on retirement soon will be bigger in quantity compared with young people who produce GDP. So we have a lot of opportunities, and as investors and as scientists and as entrepreneurs, and also as patients, and maybe most of us will, leapfrog that state of yes. So we'll maybe somehow we will. I'm sure that all of us now a little bit ill, but maybe we will achieve the situation when some of us will become healthy.